plugging that motherfucker.
We ain't hanging out in the dorms anymore, too.
Mangini called this. Myles Garrett wanted to play for a contender. He wrote a letter, and it was released saying goodbye, and he was dug in. And then all of a sudden, voila, a new 4-year, $160 million contract, and he's committed to Cleveland again. Look at this list. What?
You say that like you're disgusted with Myles Garrett.
I don't like my emotions to be toyed with, bro.
My man just got $160 million. I'm not mad at him. He may have really meant. He may have really meant, Greg, I'm out of here.
He did.
But you put those numbers in front of me, I can't get mad at the guy.
Can I just read this real quick, Greg?
Of course.
This is what he released. Okay, Dust, can you put it up? We can read along. As a kid, dreaming of the NFL, all I focused on was the ultimate goal of winning a Super Bowl. And that goal fuels me today more than ever. My love for the community, it's been one of the toughest decisions of my life. These past 8 years shaped me into the man I am today. It goes on and on and on. His goal is to
Northeast Ohio.
It has always been to compete and win a Super Bowl. With that in mind, I got to request a trade. And then a week later, oh, good. All that is not true. I'm good being with this team that has no chance of winning the Super Bowl.
No, that's still all very true. And with every single player that straps on a helmet, that puts on a jersey and a uniform, there is a unless. And the unless you're going to give me X amount of money.
Greg, just write a letter.
Right. There's always a number.
Max Crosby's number? I'm way better than Max Crosby.
Look,
thank you, Northeast Ohio. I'm better than Max Crosby.
Show me the money.
That's fine.
Cleveland showed him the money, and he was like, you know what? I mean, I still want all this stuff. I want
Right.
Let's be honest.
Nick said it. There's always a team that goes from not making the playoffs and doing anything to making them. They were just in the playoffs a couple years ago. I mean, come on. I'm just, I'm not mad at Myles at all.
Nick?
So I'm not mad at Myles, but as a football fan, I am a little bummed. It feels to me, so I watched firsthand when I was living in Houston, J.J. Watt have as good of a 4 years as any defensive lineman has ever had in the history of the league, and an all-time career, and with almost zero memorable playoff moments. As a rookie, he had the pick six, and they seemingly played the Bengals every year in the playoffs, but there were no real, none at all as far as deep playoff runs. Another guy I'll bring up, Greg, is Jason Taylor. Great player, a friend of the network, you know what I mean? No doubt Hall of Famer, who it feels like was just kind of spent his whole career, not in obscurity, because when you're that great of a player at a splash position, you're not obscure, but you don't get the moments the other greats get. And so I don't know that I think that Von Miller is a better player and over the course of his career than Myles Garrett. I do know that Von Miller has had a bunch of moments. His Super Bowl MVP, could have arguably won another Super Bowl MVP, or at least was very instrumental for that Rams Super Bowl. And so that's just a bummer. I don't blame him, because I don't think it's just football players. I think it's almost everyone who works. It's like no matter how unhappy you are at your job, there almost always is a number that you're like, okay, I'm happy now. And so, I can't kill him for that. Usually people don't write letters to the community about how unhappy they are and then be like, okay, never mind, the money plays. But, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a bummer unless the Browns turn it around. And you're right, Wilds, I do believe teams can turn it around. The only team, I think, in worse shape of turning it around than the Browns is the Saints, just because their cap situation is going to take so long to pull themselves out of.
My desire to win and compete on the biggest stages won't allow me to be complacent. I bought this. I bought it 100%. And
As you should.
If you
but
wanted
you're
to
leaving some out. He talked about how much he loves Northeast Ohio. Trust me, Cleveland's a great place to live.
I like Cleveland.
I'm from Cleveland.
I like Cleveland a lot when we were there for the fight. I actually like Cleveland. But if you're like, you know what, this team is not committed enough to get to the Super Bowl, so I'm going to.
Well, if there's one way that they can show their level of commitment, it's to pay him that amount of money. Because we can all agree, we don't feel like the Cleveland Browns, without Myles Garrett, would even sniff having the opportunity to make the playoffs based off what we know them to be and the personnel that they have. Now they have that chance because they didn't lose
to go to Baltimore.
It would have been great to see him, as Nick said, with a contender, no doubt. But
it would have been.
Wild. The best part of it.
I'm an emotional guy. This thing got me 100%.
Wild, you're going to be even angrier because I don't even know if you saw this.
Well, J.J. McCarthy is going to be Patrick Mahomes 2.0, and Bo Nix, he's actually 3.0 at this point. In any event, Jets signing Justin Fields to a 2-year, $40 million contract. Now, we've talked about Aaron Rodgers maybe going to Pittsburgh. Justin Fields is now in New York with Aaron Glenn. Last year, you know, he was keeping the seat warm, it felt like, Greg, for Russell Wilson, who the Steelers kind of committed to before they started the season. Do you like Justin in New York?
I do. I like Justin in this situation simply because you got to believe that Aaron Glenn has a plan. I mean, and when you talk about not allowing Aaron Rodgers to come back and setting the table for the guys that you want in the building, you got to have a plan if you're going to take that approach. And with Justin Fields, can he win you some games? Of course. Mm-hmm. And does he have a relationship with some of those guys on that offense side of the ball? Of course. A lot of his teammates love him as a player, love him as a leader. We understand he's not at the level of some of these great quarterbacks and elite quarterbacks in the league. But the Jets, none of us believe all of a sudden that the Jets are just going to be this playoff team.
Right.
We're going to give them grace. And there's not too many players that at the quarterback position that would give you enough grace and still have the spark and the magic that he can provide you at times, like Justin Fields. So I don't mind this for a first-year coach trying to get his feet wet and not completely having nothing at quarterback.
Yeah, I'm fine with this. Obviously, the Jets are in essentially a rebuild. They're certainly rebuilding the culture. Not having a big-name quarterback does, and a quarterback with really not many expectations, allows Aaron Glenn to totally set the culture the way he wants it to. I also think they'll kind of build the offense around Justin Fields' skill set, which will be good for him. He hasn't always been in those situations. And there still is the possibility. He's young enough. He has shown enough flashes in the past where there's a possibility that he really might pop at some point. We just got done talking about Sam Darnold. And, you know, this is the year recently of these quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, guys who started their career slowly and then popped at some point and became franchise quarterbacks, or at least possibly. So I think that's the situation with Fields, too.
Yeah, and Darnold last year on a prove-it deal as potentially planning to be the backup was 1 year, $10 million. This is essentially 1 year, $20 million with a team option for year 2. There would be some dead money associated with that, but that's basically what this deal is. And so I don't mind it. I really like for the Jets and their fans that for the first time in nearly a decade, the story of the team is not quarterback as the first, second, and third most important thing, because going from Darnold to Wilson to Rodgers, that's all that mattered. And now it can be about Aaron Glenn trying to build something. And as an added bonus, Wilds, you like continuity and you like college teammates playing together. Fields and Garrett Wilson, I think Garrett Wilson, who I'm sure they want to sign to an extension, I bet he likes this.
Yeah.
And so after maybe, you know, not having a ton of fun last year. So I think that's an added bonus.
That's a good win for Garrett Wilson. Goes from, like, if Aaron Rodgers here, trade me, to, oh, my old college quarterback.
Well, he better throw him the football well.
He's going to throw him.
I mean, they can be friends and hang out and play video games and all that, but throw the dude the football.
He will.
That's what Garrett Wilson wants.
Yeah, this isn't
he's not a great
in college.
Right.